Number one, people may not be honest with themselves and then their doctor or their team about how much sun they actually get. Number two, they may not realize that their sun that they're getting, Nebraska, Minnesota, Maine, you cold northern states, your UV index is rarely above 6 or 7. You're rarely getting enough vitamin D from the sun. Florida, Mexico, Texas, Southern California, the southern states, it's a different story. So they may not be realistic about how much vitamin D they're actually getting from the sun. Same thing happens with magnesium. People think, well, I eat a healthy diet, I take magnesium supplements. Why would I have a low magnesium? Well, here's the reality. When stress enters the picture of any kind, we're talking about chemical stress, we're talking about psychosocial stress, emotional stress. You can divvy up, delineate, subcategorize stress into 1,000,001 different types of stress. So when stress enters the picture, there are a lot of things that tend to happen. Number one, people tend to go indoors where they get less vitamin D. Number two, they tend to reach for comfort foods and not eat very high vitamin D foods, specifically fish. Yes, they may reach for dairy, but generally they don't eat very much fish. And whether or not they should eat more fish is more complicated than just they should. It's full of vitamin D and omega 3s. So they get less sun, they eat less vitamin D, and they may or may not take a supplement. Now, the other thing is that as inflammation rises in the body can actually increase your demand for vitamin D. And as it increases the demand, your storage vitamin D, which is what we measure in the blood, ends up getting converted over into active vitamin D. So, you'll see people with autoimmune diseases, people with cancers, people with all kinds of problems who have a low serum vitamin D because they're converting it into active form. They have a higher need, and they assumed that because they got a lot of sun, they had adequate, optimal vitamin D levels. I strongly discourage people from assuming. I've just seen it end poorly too many times. We check vitamin D levels in the medical practice every quarter until they're normal. And we generally come up with a clear, defined strategy of you're going to take this much vitamin D in this format, whether it's light, the sun, a Sperti vitamin D lamp. You can learn more about that in the light course that we've got at Stillman Wellness. We've also got links out to discounts on some of these products that I might recommend or might mention. So they don't have a clear strategy for optimizing their vitamin D. Stress will also tend to steal cholesterol for other hormone processes. This is why you tend to see low levels of things like cortisol in people who've been under chronic stress for long periods of time. It is common for me to see vitamin D and low cortisol together. It's also common for people who have low cortisol levels to have absolutely no idea that their cortisol is as low as it is. And we see remarkable improvements in people, not only in things like vitamin D status, but their overall health and wellness, their function, specific diseases, too numerous to mention, when we optimize their hormones with a variety of different methods, everything from real pharmaceuticals, which will use like bioidentical hormones, over to supplements to just support healthy, optimal hormone levels. But as you're under stress, it will consume cholesterol that could turn into vitamin D and take it down into things like cortisol. And any other hormonal abnormality in that cascade can steal that cholesterol from vitamin D. Now, can I prove that rigorously? It's hard to, because the reality is all these systems are interconnected and all of them are very dependent upon a multitude of factors in the environment and the lifestyle. But this is why we tend to see low magnesium levels and low vitamin D levels with stress. Now, magnesium, the link with vitamin D is that magnesium is necessary for vitamin D production and conversion to the active form. And the reason that's so important is that stress also tends to deplete magnesium levels. Now, this is why I see the toughest cases for me to optimize a magnesium in are people who are working a lot under a lot of stress, business owners, entrepreneurs, CEOs, and people who are chronically ill and are very, very worried about their overall health and wellness. And their magnesium levels are often low with low vitamin D levels. And so no wonder they feel worse. And this is part of why, the vast majority of clinicians out there in the integrative functional medicine space are using vitamin D and magnesium together in virtually every case, because they see how they work together to optimize cellular function, optimize everything from immune function to cognitive function to athletic performance and so on and so forth. And understanding, though, that Just because you take these things does not mean the levels are normal. And the reason for that is that you're unique, you're different. You have very specific, very unique to you, right? Set of factors in your life, your diet, your lifestyle, your environment, your daily routine. And one of the things that we do when we work with people is we help them identify, well, how stressed are you really? How much vitamin D are you actually getting in your day to day life? How much magnesium are you getting in your day to day life? Many people don't realize, oh, I didn't think I needed a magnesium supplement. I eat good, quote, end quote. Even if you eat well, even if you eat remarkably well, modern life is full of stresses of various kinds that we go over in more detail. Particularly if you're not on our email list, you should be. We talk about all these things uncensored on Thursdays in our webinar. And the reason we do it on that Thursday webinar is that we can't be candid about all the stresses of modern life, because the truth is people are making a fortune off of the modern epidemics of ill health. Everyone from the aluminum industry to the medical industrial complex has a vested interest in people being sick and people not being well and people being, overweight, lazy, unable to think for themselves. And because of that, we find that we tend to get censored on social media because we talk about the things that are actually degrading people's physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual well-being, and share with them the most compelling information that we have about how to protect themselves. And that's the Thursday morning webinars we do that are not on social media. To get access to those, you need to sign up for the email list at stillmanwellness.com. We promise not to spam you. We don't, sell lots of things through the email newsletter. We occasionally will have a sale. Mostly we just let you know where we are, what we're doing, and how you can tune into our content.